You are now listening to T on One Radio, the talk show podcast station, bringing you Inspire Our Podcast, your source for positive mental stimulation and good vibes, uplifting the world in support of peace, strength, wisdom, and faith. The information and resources on this podcast are based on the opinions of the host, unless otherwise noted. All information is intended to motivate, encourage, and inspire positive change and a healthier lifestyle. This podcast may contain some quotations, images, and or excerpts from copyrighted material. These uses fall well within the copyright doctrine of fair use. Welcome. I am your host, Toni-Williams. Hi, everybody, and welcome. I am Toni-Williams. For those of you who are listening to me from Wisdom app, welcome. Come on in and get comfortable. This is one topic for the books. This is a very important topic. And if you're following me from the Inspire Our podcast, thank you for being here as per your usual. And if you're new, welcome. Welcome. And today's topic, the importance of end-of-life wishes. Now, this is a topic that most people try to avoid at all cost. But being that we are adults, and yes, adulting is not always fun, yet it must be done. It is a must. It's very important. And this is one of those tasks that goes along with adulting. Making sure our life is pretty much, the end of our life is laid out the way we somewhat did it while we are alive. You know, you want to have a certain type of house or a certain type of car or even a certain type of job. You want to be married, you want to have children, and you start planning these things out, right? Because that's kind of what we do as humans. We kind of try to plan things out. Some things we like to be spontaneous with, but for the most part in life, we try to plan out most of the activities we're going to do. As far as going to college, for the education for the field you want to work in, you're planning for your career, you're planning for a family. We pretty much plan everything. We plan vacations. So why not be great big adults and make sure we plan out our end of life wishes? We're doing it while we're alive. So why not continue that? Make it easier on your family and friends, and don't leave them with that huge burden. But here's the thing, and this is why this topic is so important and close to my heart. We most of the time do not have this conversation. I mean, think back to when you were growing up. Do you remember your elders speaking on this topic, what they want and how they want the end of their life to be when they can no longer make that choice for themselves? I'll give you a second to think about it. But did you hear it? Did you know of it? Or was it just something you all of a sudden just didn't see that person anymore, and all of a sudden there's a funeral to go to? There's a gap there. There is important information that is not being given to the younger generations, and this is one of them. If we're going to be good adults, parents, aunties, uncles, foster parents, whatever the case may be, or if you don't have children at all, it's just your spouse, that time of a person's life, bereavement is very hard on its own without adding the responsibility of having to make all the preparations and plans. I mean, have you had to do that or know someone and saw the stress and strain and hardships they went through. This is why this is important. I don't want, and I'm pretty sure you don't either, I don't want my kids hoop hollering and crying, they're grieving, and they have to pick out a casket or even guess or fight between themselves on what I wanted. How things are supposed to go. What did I mean by what I said? Because they can't remember, it was so long ago. The fight, take that away. The stress, take that away. Have the end of life wishes conversation. Because let's be honest and clear, there have been cases where that burden was too heavy for some people and they ended their own life. We don't want that. We do not want that. Leave somewhat of a guide, if you will. That's why it is important to sit down. Now, I'm not saying that conversation is going to be easy, because it's not. Trust me, it is not. I had to do it myself. It's not easy, but it is necessary. It is necessary for their function. We want them to be at peace, so let's help them along the road. So how do we do this? How do we come to this situation? Like, talking about the end of life wishes with your children or whoever's in your circle. Because families are made up of so many different categories and everything. A man and a woman, that's a family. Or vice versa, whatever the situation may be. But we need to truly have this conversation. Now, for some, this usually discussed with children around ages 10 through 13. This is what I've been noticing over the years. That's when people seem to want to, like have a minute and a half or 2 minute conversation with the 10 through 13 year olds. But for the most part, I don't know. There's a lot of people out there who do not have that conversation at all. So they're not prepared for the end of your life because they're not prepared. Moms, dads, uncles, grandma, grandpa, meemaws, nanas, papaws. We have to prepare the younger generation. Let's look around and see they're ill prepared for a lot of things. This definitely should not be one of them. It is a very challenging task, but it's needed to be done. This is a true focus on the family. Because like I said, back in the day, for the most part, by the older generation, it was not viewed as, a good thing to do. They viewed it as a burden to talk about this. And their death is viewed as a burden for their kids to bear that they shouldn't have to. And then kids then thought it disrespectful to even bring up the subject to those elders. And it was an utter shit show. And that's really where all of the crying over the casket, hoop hollering and screaming, "Take me!" That's a lot of where that comes from. Being very unprepared. Being in denial that that is truly a part of life. And one day, it will come to pass. It's going to happen. As surely as we are born, we shall die. But it doesn't have to be a task. It doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't. Just you get together with your feelings and emotions and nerves and butterflies and whatever else you feel dancing in your stomach, and sit your children down. Sit your adopted children down. Sit your nieces and nephews down. Like, Sit them down and talk to them. Your partner, your spouse, your best friend. Like, sit them down and have that talk. And it can bring peace. I mean, some people need perhaps maybe a preacher to come in, or like some third party that is close to the family, who's been there for these certain occasions. Like, and they were there and it was like they were everybody's rock. Go get that person. If you're not feeling totally comfortable, if you can't seem to literally speak on the subject, bring in a third party that you trust, the family trust, who's not trying to take advantage of the situation, to sit down with you and your children and whoever else to even begin the conversation. So now let's bring some peace and understanding and some comfort to the whole family. You know your family members. You know what makes them tick. You know what topics they run from. You know how their behaviors and attitudes about things are. So take all that into consideration, because you have to plan this moment as well too. Pick out a time frame where you know everybody's pretty much free and together. I mean, we do things on a weekly basis, little get-togethers, picnics, whatever you and your family likes to do on a weekly basis for entertainment, family game night, all of that. Okay, so since this is a very important conversation that everyone should be there for, let's schedule this before it's too late. Because as we can see, looking around at life and how it's going and how things are taking place, it's happening every day. And you never know when, because nobody really knows when. So it's better to go ahead and be that responsible adult and get your damn adult on. Like, seriously. Don't be the angel that's sent to the side and everybody's like, you wrong as hell. Why did you do them like that? Like, why would you do that to them? Shame on you. Don't do that. Or what the hell was you thinking? You know your family. You know their attitude. The ones who have gone on, what would they say? You ain't on top of your shit, perhaps? Or you know what you're supposed to be doing? You know your family, so you know what they would say to you. But take that time. That is the most important moment in a family's life. It is. And we want to be a good example to the younger generations that's coming behind us, or behind our children, our grandchildren. You know, you're setting an example, and this does fall in line with your legacy. You can't have a beginning of a legacy and, like, at that sensitive moment where you pass on, your legacy doesn't stop right there. Because for years, people are going to be talking about, man, she or he had their wishes together, and it actually went kind of smooth for a funeral, for this and for that, for a wake, or however, because everybody's different. They do things different. So no matter how you do it, no matter what your end-of-life wishes are, no one can put them into effect if they don't know. And I'm going to tell you, because I told my kids this. And when my grandkids get old enough to understand, I'm going to tell them too. Look, I'm not going to be like some of that shit I saw on YouTube, where because I like motorcycles, you're going to stand my body up in some weird position on a motorcycle and have my hair in some purple ass braids or some shit. Or have me wearing all pink, knowing damn well I don't like wearing all pink. I'm going to come back and hunt your ass. And no lie, this is what I told them, because I want them to understand. These are my wishes. I don't want to be buried. I want to be cremated. I don't want you to spend all that extra money. Take that money from that insurance policy and pay some of those bills. Because like I say, you never know when death is knocking on your door. So no matter who you are, even the day after you've passed on, creditors are not stopping. Those lights are not going to stay on, especially if you want your kids to take your house after you're gone. You don't leave them like, oh wow, this is, phew, oh wow, this was the light bill or the fire insurance or everything, the property taxes, all of it. It's being smart about it. It's showing true love. Not just for yourself, but for those you love. So they don't have to guess. So the family's not going, I'm supposed to get all her dresses and her hats. Knowing damn well, because it's in every family, there are some. The person is not cold and somebody's already at the house trying to pick out what they want. No bullshit. Seriously, no bullshit. Straight facts. It happens. And in every family, I don't care how wealthy you are or how poor you are, it's exactly the same. Hell, if left up to them, they'd be fighting over who the hell was going to take the cardboard box Auntie Maxie was living in or whatever. Well, what did she have in her cart at least? It doesn't matter. So, it's important to sit down and have that conversation. It's not just beneficial for your legacy, it's beneficial for your family. It's beneficial for their health, for their mind, for their hearts. Because they're going to be, it will be a funeral. They're going to be grieving. Let's not make them have to choose the color of your casket or where you want to be buried or even guess if you want to be buried or not at all. And then you sitting back on the other side going, dang, I dropped the ball. What the hell were they thinking? I don't like that. I don't want that. Break that cycle of not knowing or the family arguing over who's supposed to get this, what color you're supposed to wear, what type of flowers you liked, or if you just wanted to be put in a coffee can and stuck at your favorite fishing spot. They're not going to know if you don't tell them. Closed mouths, right? And in the hood, we say this, and it is very important because it stands for a lot of things. Closed mouths don't get fed. Meaning, if you don't open up and let your heart speak, nobody's going to know what to do, what to say, how to handle things. So let's get to it. If you need somebody to come in and be that third party to kind of keep things calm and everybody comfortable, yet talking freely, so you can give them that vital information, let's do that. Now, another way that this is also handled is a living will. We need them. We need them. So that way it's known on paper. So it's not just going by, okay, she said that she wanted a green dress and blue shoes and da-da-da, when that may not be what you actually said. But that's what they remembered. So that living will, having that piece of paper, having it in black and white, so to speak. Signed, notarized, all that good stuff. So it's there. Take it to the family lawyer, or you can file it with a friend that you trust. Whoever. I would say go through a lawyer with it, because there are definitely many places out there who will help if you can't financially just all out afford that, getting it done completely right. There are programs out there. Just Google it. It's up there. You can Google anything. You can even Google this topic itself. Examples of how to begin the end-of-life conversations. At what age should you do it? But honestly, if you know your family, you're watching them as they grow and mature. So you can kind of look and understand and tell. Hell, my grandson is 1 year old and he knows how to work my daughter's phone. So, you see what I mean? It's not like back in the day where babies were just babies anymore. They're growing up very fast. They're very intelligent. They learn and they understand more than we know. So by the time they get to that age group I was talking about earlier, the 10 and 13-year-old, they already know about sex and everything else by that age. Because the world is moving pretty quickly. Since we know this, that's another reason why we should have this conversation. Get it out there. Who is your power of attorney and medical power of attorney is? If you even have advanced directives in the event that you can't speak. Like, all these things go together. It's all wrapped up with that end of life wishes, because you know who you want to be able to speak for you if you can't speak for yourself. And you want to be able to take comfort and have peace in knowing that the person you're choosing can do so. Not making your situation more stressful by guessing, Lord, who the hell let cousin Andy speak for me? I was helping him. Take care of him. You see what I mean? You don't want to pick somebody that's going to immediately go, okay, pull the plug, because I didn't really like her ass no way. Me and him didn't get along. And he owed me money. You know what, doc, just go and pull the plug. You don't want that either. So that's important. Because let's be honest, typically when it comes to the end of life, when it gets to that, right before it gets to that point to where the doctors even know that you're at the end stage of your life, it may be situations to where you can't speak for yourself. So, a living will and what's in it, that's definitely what you want to go through and speak on when you have this conversation with your children or whoever. Because these are like the top three. A living will and what's in it, who your power of attorney and medical power of attorney is, whether or not you have advanced directives in the event that you can't speak. So when we do this, what are we doing? We are ensuring your loved ones that people are living longer, but sometimes life just happens unexpected. And that should anything happen, you have already taken care of a lot of it for them. Because sitting down talking to them is bringing awareness and that wisdom to them that, hey, look, this is an important subject to my mom or to my dad or to my uncle or to my grandma or my grandfather. Okay, this is important. I love them. I'm going to sit down and listen. They'll be willing to sit down and listen, and it's going to bring that awareness and clarity to them. And after you've had that conversation with them, I kid you not, then their mind is open to understand, well, wait, what would I want if something happened to me? And you have planted that positive seed of being a responsible and loving adult. And once it starts growing, they're going to pass that on too. You know, plants grow and they do drop their own seeds right next to where they're planted. Or sometimes the wind may carry it a little farther than that. Next thing you know, you got a third or fourth plant growing over here. That's going to be a healthy family garden when we do this. There's no shame. There's no guilt. And if you don't have these things, hopefully I'm bringing awareness to you so that you can get your affairs in order. Because like I say, we never know. There are car accidents, boat accidents, pop-up ass diseases, apparently, that we've been like going through the last, how many years now with the pandemic? Anything can happen. So be prepared. You can do this. If you've never had this conversation before, here we go. I am planting these seeds for a better world so we can be better prepared, so our children can be better prepared, grandchildren, and on down the line. This is very important. Yes, the conversation may be uncomfortable, but it would be much more worse without it. We love our loved ones. We don't want to see them go through agony, unnecessary pain. That was kind of the problem back in the day that stopped us from having this conversation to begin with. Not wanting to burden anyone else with the responsibility, let alone the topic of it. And it's not disrespectful for children to ask about death because it is a natural part of life. The circle of life, right? How can we celebrate a newborn coming in if we can also celebrate that our loved ones have left this wretched ass place and are now in a better place? Like, it's kind of unbalanced. It's uneven. You can't teach numbers 1 through 4 and then leave, let them figure out the rest of the numbers, at least up to 10. No. If we're not willing to do that, or if we're not willing to have a very uncooked piece of meat, risking getting sick or getting our children sick, we wouldn't do that either. So this is very important, and it really can help. Communication can keep the peace within the family, as well as taking the burden of having to make your child or children pick your casket, among other things, all while grieving. So let's do our part ahead of time and make things a lot easier, because we can't completely take the pain away of loss, but we can put a dent in some of that pain. That's better than nothing. That's better than really stacking it high for them, because they're going to be in shock for a minute. They're going to be in shock. They're going to have to gather themselves. Let's not put more work on them. Let's take some of that off of them by having this important end of life wishes discussion. Now, if you have any tips or you've had any experience with this, you guys can come up on Wisdom to the mic. You can come up and talk. If you're listening to this through any other platform, especially YouTube, comment in the box below and tell me what you think, how you felt. How have you had to do this? If you've ever been in that situation, how did you handle it? Or someone you saw, how did they handle it? Were you talked to about this as a youth or even an early adulthood? End of life is not horrible. End of life is a part of life. So let's bring some peace, understanding, and comfort to the whole family, because that is in itself some healing. Part of that is what's going to help them through that grief, because they'll be able to one moment look up and go, damn, he loved me enough to still be trying to take care of me from the grave. Damn, they're a soldier. I want to be like them with that. I want that kind of strength. I want to have that type of confidence. I want to have that type of, legacy. I want to do the right things like they did. It's all positive. And like I say, it won't take away all the pain that they'll experience after you've gone on. But that knowledge that you left behind is valuable. Very valuable. And it's something that they can pass on. And it just keeps getting passed on. Until we've all, as families, unified basically, and made things easier for our families. This is truly a conversation that matters. And when we truly love and want to care for our families, we will sit down and have this discussion. Do whatever you need to do to get your nerves together, if that's an issue. Outside of alcohol or whatever else, no, don't do that. You don't want to include that. I wouldn't suggest including that in something like this, because you want to be clear-headed, you want to be level-headed, and you want to have your heart open, and you want everyone that you want to speak with to be level-headed, cool, calm, and collected with no distractions. So everyone is open and receiving as well as giving. And you'll be surprised how much you can help your family. Even just sitting there having this conversation. You can do this. I believe in all of you. And if you have done it, had to go through it, share it with someone else. Share that experience. Because a lot of people are really closed off and don't want to even have the conversation. That'll take a little work. But you don't have to. I don't know if you guys may agree or disagree with this. But if someone is so stubborn that they are truly unwilling to have that conversation, just put it on paper. Put it on paper. Make sure they get a copy. Sooner or later, they're going to look for that yellow envelope so they can see what the hell it is you want later. Make several copies. Just get creative with it. Everybody has their different quirks and about them, and you know your family. If you have to make it fun, hell, make it fun. Just get it done. They'll also respect you more for it as well. And you'll find a new respect for your family depending on how that conversation goes. But it's very important. So have this conversation, and I hope I said something that will help make it a little less complicated. But just do it. Much love and respect to you all. And if you have any questions, definitely hit me up. Feedback, I love it. You have any ideas or you have something that you thought of later after the show, don't worry about it. Hit me up. You can find me on most of the social media platforms. The podcast is everywhere. You can find it wherever you get podcasts. And let me know what you all think. Much love and respect to you all, and hope to see you back here soon. Have a wonderful and blessed as well as productive rest of your day. Have that conversation. Here is this week's affirmation. Love is not just a word. It is in the hardest of times that love becomes an action and is seen within the family. We are strong. We are that family. And love is not just a word. This has been your weekly affirmation. What you say to yourself does matter. Quote for the week. Family loyalty is royalty. Quote for the week. You have been listening to Inspire Our podcast by TO1 Radio, the talk show podcast station. Know that you are loved, cherished, and needed. So keep your head up and your heart light. Until the next time, have a blessed and productive week. I've been your host, Toni-Williams. Hi guys, this is Toni on One, and I am here to tell you a little bit about my radio station. T on One Radio is an online talk show podcast station. It's a new type of station covering a range of different genres, and there's something for everyone. All shows are by T on One Radio, the talk show podcast station. Shows are available anytime for download, play on demand, and they're on most of your podcast sites and or apps. Subscribe and hit the notification bell on YouTube. The name over there is Toni on One, as well as like, follow, and share on social media. We're on one. So tune in for raw, uncut talk. That is T on One Radio.